If you participate in any of the online forums or live streaming groups, you'll see tons of people grabbing a live streaming switcher for the first time and then left scratching their heads when the screen stays black, or it might even pop up an error that there's a resolution issue. Choosing the right production monitor for your live stream can really make or break your experience. It's not just about getting a color accurate monitor and one that's large enough to see all the multi-view boxes, it's also about knowing what resolutions and frame rates the monitor is compatible with. That's why when I stopped into B&H Photo and saw the 21.5-inch 1500 nit field production monitor from OC, I reached out to them to see if I could grab one for an upcoming conference that I was streaming. I want to be clear, this is a product that I sought out after seeing a live demo. There are a few big mistakes that people make when they get a monitor, and I'll go into my review of using the Mega 22S field production monitor. The first mistake is that they grab an old computer monitor because it was sitting in a closet gathering dust, or they find the cheapest option at the store since they can easily cost less than $100. The problem with computer monitors is that they weren't made for video production. They were designed to work with computer frame rates and resolutions, often missing the mark with 24 frames per second, and many of them only work at 60. The second big mistake is usability. These types of monitors can't run off of a V-mount battery in the field, at least not directly if you're using them as a production monitor. They also weren't designed to be color accurate without a ton of calibration. They're not designed with ultra bright daylight viewable panels, they don't have any ability to apply LUTs to your cinema camera footage, and they certainly don't have the production tools like false color, zebras, waveforms, and focus peaking to ensure that your camera shots are properly exposed and white balanced. Another issue is how often I've seen people rolling up to a gig with the cardboard monitor box and the original styrofoam where all the tiny pieces make a mess on the floor every time that you pull the monitor out. Most people shrug their shoulders and think, well, it was only $100. I can just buy another one. The saying I think of often is buy once, cry once, and it's a lesson that I learned over and over until I realized that things like tripods, monitors, and cases all last a really long time as long as you buy a quality product and take care of it. In fact, some of my tripods I've had for over 10 years, and they're still perfectly fine to this day. That's the type of gear that I want to buy. Now let's talk about the specs of the Mega 22S. It's a 21.5-inch screen with 1500 nits of brightness and a 10-bit color depth. While the resolution of the screen is 1920 by 1080, the monitor has two 3G SDI inputs that can go up to 1080 at 60 frames and one 4K HDMI input at 30 frames. This future-proofs my setup since I don't see myself streaming at 4K anytime soon, but it allows flexibility to grow into that. It's also incredibly useful as a production monitor on my corporate shoots since I typically record at 4K in 24 frames. There's a USB connection to upload LUTs and upgrade the firmware, and there's also a USB Type-C connection to do color calibration if you have the X-Rite color checker. That means that you can calibrate this to be insanely accurate on color reproduction, which is crucial for high-end productions. I also like that it has built-in speakers and a 3.5mm headphone jack for the live streams that I do. You'll find the typical production tools like false color, zebras, and more are all accessible from the function buttons on the front of the monitor. If you're just getting into your production career and you're wondering why these things are important, let me break it down. False color gives you a color-coded overlay to show how well exposed different parts of your image are. It's super handy for avoiding under or overexposed shots. Zebra adds diagonal stripes over the brightest parts of your frame to warn you if you're blowing out the highlights. The waveform is a graph that shows the brightness levels across your whole frame, while the vector scopes come into play for color accuracy, giving you a map of saturation and hue so that you know if your colors are spot on. The histogram is another graph, but focuses on the distribution of shadows, midtones, and highlights, making it easy to see if anything is too dark or too bright. For focusing, Focus Assist adds highlights around the edges in your image to show what's sharp, while peaking outlines the in-focus areas in a bright color, typically red. A few final specs. The monitor is 10-bit IPS, so it has great viewing angles. There's a regular 3-prong power supply or a 4-pin power connection. The feet are really sturdy without taking up too much table space, and the back has a Visa mount. It even came with a C-stand adapter, so you could mount this on a stand quite easily. OC really impressed me with the way that they've thought about the production setup. There's a cheese plate already installed on the top of the monitor, so if I'm using a wireless transmitter, I can mount it right there. They also ship the monitor with a high-quality foam cutout so that you can fit it right into a Pelican case. Their website said that it's made perfectly for the Pelican 1600, but funny enough, I discovered it also fits perfectly into the Pelican IM 2700 Storm case. Now let's take it outside so I can show you how easy it is to see it in broad daylight. As you can see, I've got the monitor running off a V-mount battery, so it's completely portable. I'm running my camera into it at 4K over HDMI, and I don't even need the provided sun hood, so you can see how clear the screen is. I can check my exposure tools using the function buttons on the screen to toggle them on and off, and if I were shooting in log, I can load up to 10 LUTs right into the menu using the rotary knob. Now let me be honest here. I didn't just grab the OC because it looked cool at B&H. I actually took a hard look at its competitors and found a few things that I didn't love about the other options that are out there on the market. So for example, one of the competitors, they had a monitor and it had reviews saying that it broke after being used only a dozen times, where the screen went black while the fans and power light stayed on. I've seen people struggle with color calibration on other brands too. Some had monitors where the image was so orange that even inexperienced clients would notice it and point it out. Plus, many of these competing monitors don't accept V-mount power and rely only on mains power. That's not practical if you want a portable setup, and without easy function controls like OC's button bar, it becomes a hassle to manage settings in the field. For me, OC fixed all of these problems. It has a V-mount battery option and it works with the X-Rite to calibrate the screen's color quality. Right out of the box, the colors are pretty accurate, especially for live streaming purposes. In fact, calibration might not even be necessary, but it's nice to have the option. Some final thoughts. This is a really nice monitor that worked flawlessly as a live stream multi-view monitor. I used it at a conference and it fit into my setup perfectly. I've decided that this is going to be my go-to monitor moving forward since it's perfect for both streaming and production work. I've found that 21 inches is the sweet spot for monitors. While bigger can be nicer, it can also be inconvenient. I like that it has most of the production tools at my fingertips, the ability to calibrate it, upload LUTs, and it's built tough. It feels high quality, like it's going to last a while. I love the included cheese plate and foam case insert. Now, where can it improve? The only thing that I could think of that some people might want a 6G or a 12G SDI input or 4K HDMI up to 60 frames, but honestly, it's rare that the corporate shoots that I do go beyond 4K at 30 frames. Plus, for streaming, most platforms don't even support 4K yet, but don't worry, the HDMI input supports 4K 30, so you're not left behind. If you're looking for a monitor that's easy to see outside, runs off batteries, and comes with the right accessories, the Mega 22S is a great option. I've linked to it down below. Until next time.